If you're on social media, you've most likely seen people post these illustrated avatars of them looking like a superhero, a cyborg, or a person straight out of a fantasy novel. These are done through apps like Lensa, which are one of many that use AI models to generate hundreds of images in different styles in a short amount of time. All it requires you to do is to download the app, upload 10 to 20 selfies, and you're set. Although it seems like a fun and easy thing to try, I even tried it myself, it does come with a bit of controversy. If you scroll down to any of the comments on those posts, you might see a few saying the app steals art from artists. And if you're not aware of the ongoing discussion about AI-generated art, this seems like a pretty serious statement. And I think for most people using the app, they have no intention of wanting to harm anyone when experimenting with it, and it's not a thought that crosses their mind. So they might respond to those comments saying things like, no, it was made by an AI. But this lack of knowledge is precisely where the disconnect happens. To understand the issue around AI-generated art, we'll need to know how it works. At the very top level, to generate anything with AI, you need a lot of data. So for example, if I wanted to use AI to generate an image of a cat that doesn't exist, I'd first need to train the AI on what a cat looks like. And this is done by providing it with thousands of images of cats. Now, mind you, the AI has no idea what a cat is and what it does. It can only identify patterns or relationships within the data in its own way. And the result is an algorithm or model that it can use to generate a new image based on its learning or what looks like a cat to us. The higher the quantity and quality of the data, the more accurate and diverse the results will be. Lensa uses Stable Diffusion, which is an open source text-to-image model. This means it can take a text input and generate an image based on that. And the method for it to create these different avatars is style transfer, which is taking a style and applying it to an image. I've done a few videos on these topics before, but AI art has made leaps and bounds since then. If you want to check them out though, you can find links to those videos below. The point of contention are the datasets that Stable Diffusion was trained on. One of them was Lion 5B, which is a publicly available dataset that contains a staggering 5.85 billion image and text description pairs scraped from all over the internet, and some images might have been included without the knowledge of the original owners. Many of those being artists that are unaware that their work is being used for this purpose. The AI is trained on images from those artists to form an algorithm, and the Lensa app uses your uploaded selfies to first generate an image of you, and applies that style algorithm to create new avatars in vastly different variations. So imagine if you were an artist and you trained an AI on all of your work. The model would be able to output pieces you might create. And as an artist, it would definitely help you produce more quickly than you are humanly capable of doing, although some might be a bit off. But what happens if your work is being used to train an AI by someone else without your consent? And furthermore, should companies be able to sell outputs from this model trained on your data as a service? Unless you did consent to your art being used as training data, this is where it becomes a gray area. There are many opinions about this, with one side arguing that it's acceptable since AI isn't exactly replicating a piece you made, or that you can't claim an art style, or it's no different than a human taking inspiration. But the other side is arguing that the model wouldn't even exist in the first place without the work of the artist, and that any output from that model should be credited accordingly. This is where the sentiments of stolen art come from. Now, when considering these arguments, it's important to understand that an AI isn't just taking inspiration like a human being could do. The model is inhumanly and mathematically calculating a way to achieve an optimized result based on the data it's given. And we don't know what goes into that process, which is why it's a black box. So the methods used to obtain that data is where ethics are called into question. Although it's intended for research and is non-profit, there seems to be little regulation around this. Lion says it doesn't provide the actual images, only the links and description text, leaving it up to the user to download the actual images. Furthermore, because the dataset is so large and uncurated, they have a disclaimer that it might contain links to discomforting or disturbing content. Stable Diffusion has taken steps to remove NSFW content from the training data and made it more difficult to copy the style of other artists when generating images. However, since it's a diffusion model, the AI's output will still closely resemble the training data. To create a new model with ethically sourced data would require a lot of effort and have to be rebuilt ground up. Now, this isn't to say artificial intelligence is bad. It's a technology that's here to stay and already used in many different industries, and I think it's an extremely powerful tool to create art. It just requires more conscientiousness with its implementation. In one of my earlier videos on AI, I was trying neural style transfer, and in that experiment, I created my own style reference image and used AI to apply the style onto another open source one. The result was interesting, and I could see how the AI infused the style onto the input image. It did require some editing and retouching on my end. However, I was happy with the result and at least knew where some of the design decisions came from because I was personally responsible for creating them. I'm not saying this is the ideal way to use AI for art, but I think that was a fun way to get inspiration and try something new. With how easy and accessible apps like Lensa have made image generation, it now seems like the most common form of AI art. And because of how rapidly AI is evolving, there's also competition among different groups wanting to have dominance in the market. So, although the ethics conversation around data is topical, it remains to be seen what the impact on artists will be and if any serious steps will be taken towards it. Until then, let me know what you guys think about AI generated art in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time.